Twitch reaction. So, pathetic life of an internet alpha male. Let's see what's going on with these white alpha male influencers. Let's see what they smell like. Shout out Patrick CC too.
A generation of lost young men turned to the internet looking for role models, and instead found a cesspool of self-proclaimed alpha males ready to exploit them. These gurus preach confidence and discipline, but the deeper you look, the clearer it becomes that their lives are nothing like what they sell. Behind the tough guy personas are men drowning in insecurity, fraud, lies, and desperation. Some of these guys claim to have the highest IQ on the planet, and others literally admit to doing meth to look more attractive. Today we're discussing the most notorious.
Doing meth to look more attractive? Nigga, in what world does that make sense?
Ones, starting with King Azulai, the alpha who pled guilty to sexual contact with a 15-year-old girl. Ben Azulai essentially looked at Andrew Tate and said, I can do the same thing, only Ben has less charisma and it is way less convincing when he lies, because his origin story is almost certainly completely made up. According to Ben, his mother came to America through the Mexican border to give birth to him. He spent his early childhood going between America and his mother's home country of Israel, before permanently settling in the United States at 10 years old. Ben claims that he began visiting a Chinese restaurant every day for lunch, where he was mentored by the restaurant's owner and trained in the art of Kung Fu. Ben, who barely spoke English at the time, became the target of bullying at school, and used his newly acquired martial arts skills to beat anyone and everyone up who disrespected him.
Nigga, why the fuck does this sound like the premise of like Karate Kid or something? Did this nigga just steal a story or a script from a movie he saw? Or some shit?
People really understand things better when they get a fist in their face. They just act different. So everybody started respecting me.
At the age of 13, Ben claims that he fought 30 guys at once and they could not fully defeat him. Well, at least...
Okay, so now this nigga think he's Baki. Alright, so this nigga think he's Baki. I was just about to say, what in the Karate Kid? Right, like, alright, so this nigga think he Jaden Smith. He think he Daniel-san. He think he Baki Hanma. Okay. So you're one of them. I'm glad you're painting the picture, because I know nothing about none of these niggas. I'm not gonna hold you. Aside from some of their names and seeing them on, like, you know, stupid ass influential reels and shit.
At least that's what I think. He changes the story a lot.
I got my ass kicked one time in my life. I was 13 years old. I got jumped by about 30 guys outside of a house party. When I was 13 years old, I got jumped by like 30 guys. They beat the shit out of me. One hit me with a baton over the face. And that was the time that I stopped hanging out with people. And believe it or not, today one of my best friends is a black guy. But at the time, you know, it was literally people that I knew, and they jumped me. You know, 30 guys. They were 17 and 18. I was 13.
I fought guys that were 7 foot tall, and I fought guys that were almost 400 pounds. I fought 10 guys at the same time and beat their ass, and I fought 40 guys and I got jumped by them. And
I thought it was 30. What happened? Why is the number changing, bro? The number's changing in the age of when you got your ass beat. It's changing. And at first it was niggas. I mean, at first it wasn't niggas, but then it was niggas. And now it's just like, just regular. So just lying. The only reason that works, works in because in movies, it works in movies because they come one at a time, literally. Like on some regular shit, like, you really think in real life niggas are gonna say, all right, I'll take you on. And then he gets his ass whooped. And then this next one's like, well, that won't happen to me. And then he gets his, no, nigga, you got me, you're stupid. If you was around 6 niggas, I actually got jumped before. I got jumped dead ass in real life by 3, was it 3? Yeah, by 3 niggas. I got jumped by 3 niggas. And it felt like I was fighting 7. And I got beat the fuck up. And I was like, oh, nah, there was no, oh, yeah. There was just, when you got 2 pair of hands coming at you on top of like a foot, nigga, you only can react but so fast. Nigga, that's only in the movies, bro.
I was 13 years old. It did not matter how many people it was, how big you are, you could be 50 feet tall.
After developing a reputation for being a fighter, Ben said he joined the Russian mafia and started participating in underground fighting matches.
And eventually at the age of 18, I became one of the guys in the mafia. I was named the Kid, and it was the Russian mob. I started fighting underground fights.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's telling the freaking truth. You started kicking everybody's.
This is another movie too. I can't think of it. A nigga that's in America, gets a job fighting for the Russian mob. I forgot the name of that movie, but this is another movie too. I'm gonna keep pausing every time a script from a movie that I remember pops up, and I wish. Actually, I'm making this a reaction, so maybe when I do the reaction, I can probably remember, and I'll put the movie up, I'll pop it up somewhere, and yep. Now he's living this movie. This nigga living his movie. He's living his life chapters in movies he saw.
Yeah, he was putting me in there with anybody. I told him, give me anybody, I'll eat their throat. I don't care who it is.
You were just a.
I was a. He was literally saying just.
My favorite part about Ben is that even though he portrays himself as a ruthless, vicious fighter, he does show his deep insecurities for his height. Standing at a mere 5'7", he justifies his height by comparing himself to some of the worst men in human history.
Height doesn't mean anything. It's 5'6". Having longer limbs do not make you any better. You ever seen Putin? 5'6". No. Joseph Stalin, 5'7.5".
Anyways, while he was participating in underground fights at age 18, he was also arrested, which led to some prison time.
And I got arrested for something that they said that I did, and I didn't do it. And when I got out, all clean, after I spent a little bit of time in jail, I said, I'm never coming back here again.
Remember this because we would later find out why he actually went to prison, and it was much worse than fighting. After his stint behind bars, Ben says he went to China where he trained with Shaolin monks, who taught him some interesting ways to strengthen his bones.
And they explained to me that the strongest part of the body is actually your skull. And if you train your skull for about an hour a day, bang it against the wall, after a year it becomes 4 times thicker than it really is, which means that you become unstoppable, indestructible.
I actually do believe that Ben would regularly bang his head against the wall, because only someone who did that would manufacture this online persona by using plots from Fight Club, The Karate Kid, and Kung Fu Panda, and think that...
Bro! This is why I fuck with my nigga Pat, bro. Because I'm just like, bro, these are all plots from dead-ass movies. I'm so glad this nigga did that, man.
We were going to believe it. It's very clear that Ben is trying to make his childhood sound more interesting than it actually was, but he lies so much that he can't even keep track of his own contradictions.
It's one thing to over embellish or to maybe add a little extra razzle dazzle to a story to make yourself look a little better or to make the story sound a little bit more exciting. But nigga, you dead ass are taking scripts and plots from movies that any and everyone has seen and can see, and niggas can fact check. You're a grown ass man. It's weird, nigga. That's weird.
Now, it is possible that some of his story could be true, but there are so many things that contradict each other to the point where it makes it seem like everything is a lie. Firstly, he said he started his own business shortly after being released from prison and was making 50 grand a month by the time he was 20, thus making him able to retire by age 24. But Ben has also claimed that he worked for a top secret counterterrorism unit for over 10 years.
I told you, I worked in counterterrorism for over a decade. So for me, I wasn't allowed to be even on social media or any of these things. And even today, I'm not allowed to even speak about what unit I was in, things like that for the next 5 years. I can't share it with anybody. But
there's a lot of people out there that would say, now that's where I'm calling bullshit.
That's fine. Nobody cares.
And it's convenient that you can't talk about it so no one can verify.
Well, there's units that are called invisible units.
I'm not doubting you. I always give everyone the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I don't care.
But if I were to question it, I would say, well, wait a minute.
Just lying to lie, nigga.
You were homeless. At 18, 19, you were cleaning carpets. Then you got into telemarketing. Yeah, then you started doing real estate and you started investing here and there. That was only 10 years ago. So when was the counterterrorism?
Yeah.
And who was it for? The Israelis Israeli army?
Well, it's Israel and the United States. You work with both.
That's the CIA.
No. Counterterrorism is a little bit different.
But you had to be with somebody.
Yeah, but can't talk about who I was with. Come on.
Now, if he truly retired at age 24, then he would have had to start working in this alleged counterterrorism unit at the age of 14. This also means that he would have been working in this position while he was going to high school, fighting in underground cage matches, living with Chinese monks, and also being locked up in prison. And since we can't tell what is actually a lie and what is the truth, it's easy to assume that his lifestyle of endless riches, mansions, and sports cars are also greatly embellished. Taking a look at his personal website, Ben claims to have made his $150 million fortune selling patents. I was only able to find 2 published patents under the name of Benjamin Azoulay, both of which were filed in 2020. Even if we were to assume that both of these patents somehow sold for a grand total of $150 million, they were filed well after his 24th birthday, which he claims at that point was when he was able to retire due to his endless riches. I'm fairly certain that this is a completely different person with the same name, and Ben has no history of selling patents at all. He also claims in his biography to have had an active role in 16 different businesses that have generated $500 million in sales, as well as claiming to have won multiple awards for both bodybuilding and cage fighting. I tried to find any evidence of these claims and came up with absolutely nothing. But at the end of the day, even the most simple framing of Ben's life doesn't make sense. If he truly made $150 mil and was able to retire at age 24, why is he trying to sell people a self-improvement course online? According to Ben, it's because he wants to impart his wisdom to young men and help them become strong and successful like he claims to be.
There's nothing that could impress me. I don't care if you have a Bugatti, you have a private jet, you have a yacht. I've seen it all. I don't care for it. I care for people now. And what I do for many years now is coach people, help guys not to go through the things that I went through. You could be a strong man. You could be a tough guy. You could be an alpha, but you gotta do it right.
This sentiment, as nice as it sounds, doesn't hold much weight. Someone who made $150 million would not be selling a course. The course he's selling is funding the mansions, cars, and lifestyle he portrays. But there is one thing Ben is telling the truth about. He did in fact spend time in prison, although he hasn't been fully honest about how he ended up there. A YouTuber named John Bravo Films was able to uncover court documents revealing that Ben was sentenced to prison after he, his brother, and his friends took turns brutally assaulting a 15-year-old girl while she was intoxicated. Without getting into specifics, the court documents tell an unbelievably violent and graphic story that resulted in the young girl becoming both mentally and physically scarred from the event. Once the girl was able to escape the men, she called the police and the 3 were arrested. Ben was 18 years old and thus tried as an adult. He also admitted his guilt in open court. Ben vehemently denied all of the information that John Bravo revealed and responded exactly how you would expect him to. He basically said he is being canceled by The Matrix.
Now it looks like I pissed off a lot of people, guys.
Matrix?
So many, because I became so influential so quick. And I'm literally one of the most talked about influencers in the world today, that I got to the point that they...
A lot of people, regular people probably didn't even know who the fuck you were before, like, you know, maybe the sex offender shit came out. I didn't even know who you were until Patrick CC dropped a video on you. I ain't gonna lie, you were probably only influential to a certain demographic of motherfuckers. And that was only going to go, but for so long and so far.
Putting out a lot of false information about me. A lot of bullshit. But you see, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm gonna say this. It looks like the Matrix is attacking me.
But the pressure from those online was too big for Ben to ignore, so he further elaborated in a now deleted video where he claims the entire situation was made up. He claims that the girl in question filed a $15 million lawsuit, and rather than spending hundreds of thousands in lawyers' fees, they settled for a much smaller amount under the agreement that he pled guilty. The story completely contradicts what is verifiably written in the court documents, as they directly claim that the nurses observed physical signs of SA all over the girl's body. Unsatisfied with his response, John Bravo continued exposing Ben, revealing that this was not even the first time Ben was charged with SA. The court documents clearly state that Ben and his brother Dylan had a past history of charges for SAing underage intoxicated girls. King Azoulay has continued to try and define exactly what really happened, but whenever he clarifies things, it doesn't exactly make him look better.
I was never convicted of I was convicted of oral copulation with a minor. I was 18, she was under 18. And I agreed to take a plea deal that I got a job from her. They were trying to teach me a lesson because a year before that, when I was underage, I had a fight with my ex-girlfriend. She cheated on me. I got hell of upset and I smacked her in the back of the head.
Recently, he has accused his most prominent detractors, including John Bravo, of hiring a hitman to take out his mother.
But these men are not the ones that I worried about so much. It's about this email that I received this morning. An email that sounds like it's coming from a hitman. This kind of an email describes exactly what they're going to do to my mother.
The email Ben shows is almost certainly completely fabricated, coming from an email address that doesn't even exist, meaning Ben made this entire thing up just to paint himself as the victim. Now, whatever credibility he has left is certainly gone, and still to this day, Ben is trying to rebrand from being known as a fraud and a violent abuser, much like Wes Watson, who was once seen as the example of how an ex-convict can truly turn their life around, to now facing charges that could land him back behind bars. When Wes Watson first started posting content back in 2019, his videos mainly focused on his time spent in federal prison. Wes claims that he started selling weed during his teenage years and was making up to $40,000 a week. Although Wes has given various different versions of this story, so that's just a rough estimate.
At 11, I just started hustling. By the time I was 16, I went and bought a truck at like a lifted Z71 cash, like 50 grand. I had hundreds of thousands of dollars at 15, 16.
I started smoking weed at like 13 or 12. By the time I was 14 or 15, the natural progression was to start slanging.
And despite selling what he describes as a large amount of product, he managed to avoid the law for a long time. It was until a fateful night in November of 2009 where Wes physically assaulted a man after a drug deal that had gone wrong. Notably, Wes was not actually involved in the deal itself, but rather serving as more of a low-level grunt called in after the deal fell through. Not exactly the hotshot kingpin he claims he was.
You was a runner.
True is that Wes...
This nigga was a runner. He was trying to make himself sound, oh yeah, I was a boss, yo. You know, I had to work. I had this, I had that. You know what I'm saying? I had these niggas going to get that. You know what I'm saying? But hell nah, bro. This nigga was a fucking runner.
In prison, and stories he told from his time locked up brought him almost immediate success on YouTube. In under half a year since his first upload, Wes was already able to get 250,000 subscribers. And during the pandemic, Wes had a unique opportunity and began creating more motivational content to help people increase their mental fortitude and physical fitness while trapped at home. This is when Wes began offering what he describes as self-mastery programs, which sought to teach young men how to hone in their physical strength, business capabilities, and mindset. Thanks to programs like this, Wes claims that he now makes an average of $3 million per month.
Like, you don't make $1 million a month, you make a third of what I make a month. If you make $1 million a month, I can't respect someone who's doing a third of me financially. I can respect the guy whose yacht is in 300 million. He murdered me. I have to understand what he did.
Although we have no way to verify how much money he was actually making, what I can say for sure is any businessman who was making $3 million per month would absolutely respect and listen to the advice of another businessman who was making $1 million per month. Despite his arrogance, Wes was relatively respected in the early days of his content creation career. His videos served as a cautionary tale of just how brutal and unforgiving spending time in federal prison can be. Wes sold himself as a man who learned from his mistakes and was trying to teach other people lessons that he had to learn the hard way. In particular, Wes has claimed that his anger issues were the catalyst for many of his problems.
My biggest vice is anger. I have a problem with it. It's the biggest battle of my life. These vices hold us from everything, all our dreams, everything we could ever possibly just gather up and love for our lives. Our vices are holding us from it.
Of course, Wes put on the persona that he was a changed man and now found healthy ways to deal with his anger.
Brother?
I don't fall victim to my old vices, the drugs, the negative shit, the anger. I don't fall victim to it no more. I've done so good on my anger lately too. I'm so proud of it.
I don't know if you have, bro. I can't tell. You said you've been doing so good. It doesn't look like it. You look very angry. You're shouting. You're spitting at niggas. You look stressed. You look angry right now, nigga. Your veins is popping out, my boy. I don't believe you. I do not believe you. But hey, man, cooling the vibing the cooling, getting back on some reactions and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's about that time. I've been in my gamer bag lately, and I was like, it's about time we sit back and get some yapping in. Just watching some shit, reacting to it. And actually, I need to get my algorithm back to like current events and shit like that. Because right now it's just random weird shit, gamer shit, but not like, real, talking topics and shit. But yeah, we just cooling, bro. Just cooling the vibing.
Guys, you have to drop all this shit and not drag your family through the mud.
But this didn't seem to be the case, as conflicts in his personal life made it to the public eye, and they showed that Wes hadn't really changed at all, particularly when Valerie Watson, Wes's now ex-wife, posted a video to social media accusing her husband of both physical and emotional abuse.
I literally have held my tongue for way too long to protect.
That's a tattoo. I was like, what is that shit on her chin? That's what is that? It's a different type of tat.
Him. It's not happening anymore. He's physically hurt me so many times that it's unforgivable. And I do have a video.
What is that? She dead ass just, yeah, she just tatted. It looks like a name, but then again, it looks like it could be like strands of hair.
Of Wes charging at me and has put like a knife to my face and literally have told me, like, has threatened to kill me.
Valerie also specifically emphasizes that the person Wes portrays himself to be online is a lie, and that he did not follow the same rules and principles he promoted to his audience. She also included pictures of her bloodied hand and bruised arms, implying that Wes had directly caused the injuries. Then again, it is possible that he had a jealous ex who was just trying to make up stories because he was becoming successful and popular online. That is for sure what Wes's fanbase thought, which is why this wasn't the final nail in the coffin for his career. And over the next few years, more information would come out about Wes that essentially proved to his detractors that his whole life was a hoax. His mega mansion, which he claimed to have purchased, was not actually his. The property was listed for rent at $65,000 a month in October of 2022, and the listing was removed a month later in November, right before he uploaded his vlog showing off the property. His Bugatti Chiron, he also does not own. Even his girlfriends, and I'm not joking, are literally rented. Wes was exposed for hiring a female escort for $200 an hour and pretending that she was his actual girlfriend. His house is rented, his cars are rented, and even his girlfriends are rented. Which doesn't mean that he is secretly broke, it's just clear he isn't exactly the business mogul he claims to be.
Yeah, it means he's a fucking liar. You know what I'm saying? He just putting on a facade. You don't own none of this shit, nigga. You're actually just blowing your money. You know what I'm saying? If you had all this bread, if you was making $3 million a month, my boy, why do you not own that? Why not just go ahead and just cop that? You're making $3 million a month. That's pocket change to you, right? You know what I'm saying? A nigga making $3 million, I'm not renting shit. Nigga, I'm buying everything. I'm buying it and I'm breaking it and I'm buying it again. I'm not renting shit.
If Wes,
I might make you rent something. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, fuck it. Where do you live? I'm going to buy that whole villa. I'm going to make you pay me rent. Nigga, if I'm getting $3 million a month,
had taken the money he's been wasting on overpriced cars and homes for Instagram and actually invested it, he could have actually owned real assets by now. A large property,
that's
maybe
what
not
I'm saying.
Supercars, but still expensive luxury cars.
So
but
I'm
he didn't
saying,
do
Pat,
that because Wes is creating the illusion of success to sell more courses and coaching to people who don't understand what real success is, which is, I have to admit, ironically, a good business strategy. The problem is this relies on the customer lacking intelligence and desperately wanting a role model, and thus paying a con artist with deep insecurities. He even lies about his height. Despite being listed as 5'8" in court documents, Wes gets furious when anyone suggests he's shorter than 6 feet tall.
How tall am I? I'm 6 foot. When we went into medical, when I was booked, I was 6 foot 252. And I said, why the f does my paperwork
say 5'8", 230. That's the eyeball of the arresting officer.
To make matters worse, he literally uses special insoles to boost his height, and he does a terrible job at hiding it. Wes has such a hard time keeping track of his lies that the alpha womanizer admitted to being bisexual during an interview.
I was in a Q&A on the way here. Someone said, skinny or thick chicks? I'm like, I like them skinny thick. You know, what the f you mean? Like, everything's like that for me. They're like, are you straight or are you this? I'm everything. I'm not just one or the other.
And despite portraying himself as a stoic yet intense tough guy who learned from his mistakes and can now control his anger, Wes's temper was completely out of control, violently threatening anyone who had a different opinion than him.
Are you saying that your Bugatti and your money and everything else is worth more than your children?
Like, my dad's a superhero. Look what he brought to the table. Look how hard this guy works. He came from nothing to this.
Yeah.
He works, God damn it.
You're still whining. Stop whining and just make an argument.
Dude, I'll smack your fat ass.
So you're gonna
look at your goddamn self.
Okay,
I've never seen such a pathetic motherfucker.
Okay, well,
let's chill out a little bit, man, a little bit.
This is not what men look like.
Let's let him
what do they look
his
like?
Point.
What do they look like? Bald prisoners?
Like many of these alpha males, Wes also had a habit of challenging other men to fights whenever he felt slighted by them, leading up to an altercation that would change his life forever. Now, the nature of this video is extremely graphic and cannot be shown on YouTube, but footage of Wes violently beating up another man would be leaked by John Bravo, in which we can see Wes hit the man with a weightlifting belt, then him and his friends pin the man down and endlessly hurl punches at his head and even kick him in the face multiple times. The man in question would press charges, leading Wes to be arrested for felony assault and battery. He is now facing up to 25 years in prison. Ironically, Wes is now right back where he started, and potentially may find himself behind bars once again. Recently, he has restricted or completely disabled his comment sections on all of his social media accounts, going to show just how fragile his ego really is. Worst of all, his reputation is so destroyed that the only people who are willing to collaborate with him are people like Jack Doherty and the Island Boys. Wes is a perfect example of someone who would have greatly benefited from following his own advice, just like the Liver King, who had a psychotic meltdown after being exposed for not living the lifestyle he promoted. Brian
that's
Johnson.
just the one nigga that I did know about. I did hear about Liver King. I used to see him a lot. Always, you know, you gotta eat lean and this and that, the third, and yeah, I'm all natural. And I do remember seeing this nigga around.
Better known as the Liver King, was a divisive figure from the very beginning of his career. His claim to fame was the promotion of what he calls the ancestral lifestyle, which sought to replicate the daily routine of our ancient human ancestors. This meant consuming a diet of foods like raw liver, raw bone marrow, and even raw bull testicles. His ancestral lifestyle also applied to his workout routines, which were designed to simulate the physical strain that an ancient hunter-gatherer would experience during a hunt. Now, the idea of eating bull nuts already made the Liver King a giant meme, but those more familiar with health and fitness believe that Brian was not entirely honest about his ancestral way of living.
There's nothing ancestral about this guy. He's training with high-tech equipment, training properly, progressive overload. I'm gonna spoil it right now. I don't think he's natural. Don't believe that. And for all the
and I didn't know Greg Doucette came at him like that either. I didn't know that. He was like, nigga, he's not natural. He's not natty.
haters, I want to be clear. I believe that there's more than a 50% chance that he's on PEDs.
Brian emphasized a natural and organic lifestyle more than the average fitness influencer, so the idea of him potentially using performance-enhancing drugs would be a much greater scandal than average. Of course, Brian was well aware of this and always rejected the idea that he was using steroids.
Other than the fact that you have a body that you have earned on your own, are you against steroids?
This is what I'll say. I care in the most positive way, because when somebody says, hey man, you're on steroids, and they've been saying this for 20 or 30 years. I've been working out since I was 8. So when I was in high school, hey man, you're on steroids. This is a great compliment.
There's a lot of subprimals that are convinced that Liver King is taking steroids.
Is Liver King natty?
Do you think if I was on steroids, I would have these appendages down here, these legs?
Have legs?
Do you see how little my legs are? When I was in college, I weighed 175 pounds and I was single-digit body fat. I started working out about 8 or 9 years old. I had already been working out for, 10 or 12 years. So now I'm 45 and I've gained less than 1 pound a year over 25 years. So this is what I say to people that make this accusation. If you don't believe this is possible, then I suggest that you take that self-limiting belief, you put that in a box and you bury that next to all your embarrassing shit and don't open your mouth about it. Let that live with you. Don't let that live with somebody else.
Notice how he never responds to the question with no. He only did outright deny his usage briefly one time on No Jumper.
So again, for the record, I've never taken steroids. I'm thinking about doing it.
Despite this, very few were actually convinced that he was natural. And when you think about it, hardly anything about Brian's life was ancestral to begin with. He lives in a modern house and posts on social media every day. Not to mention that he uses real weights, modern workout routines, and even a hyperbaric chamber to maintain his figure, all of which ancient humans never had. Plus a seemingly endless supply of supplements. I mean, just look at him compared to actual people living a tribal lifestyle. They simply look nothing like him. It's amazing what this primal ancestral diet can do for the human body. As you can see, these African hunters all share the same physique as Liver King. People had good reason to be skeptical, but without definitive proof, Liver King could have just been an anomaly. This would change when he was exposed in a series of leaked emails by a fitness YouTuber named Derek, better known as More Plates, More Dates. These emails were sent before Brian's internet fame and show him consulting with a bodybuilding coach on how to improve his physique with the use of performance-enhancing drugs. He notably emphasizes the importance of fine-tuning his regimen in preparation for a social media campaign to grow his following, and lists out his current stack of performance-enhancing drugs. We also get a look at blood work results that Brian shows in relation to his drug usage. Most damning, however, was the revelation that Brian had actually previously reached out to Derek, requesting fitness coaching, and personally revealed his PED usage.
I need to get shredded, have more energy, and get my brain working better, but I overtrain. Approximately 12 to 14 workouts a week and can't stop. I played around with peptides and would like to explore real GH like Omnitrope and others. I sleep well, eat well. I even have a hard shell hyperbaric oxygen therapy, presumably, cold plunge, sauna, etc. at my house. I need next level, which is why I'm reaching out. Can you reassure me that all information discussed, wish confidential, presumably will be held confidential?
What once was likely an assumption was now the truth. The Liver King was lying about his entire online persona. He claimed that his body was achievable through the implementation of his ancestral lifestyle.
Fuck no. There's no way. Because there's no ancestors that are ever built or look like that, nigga.
And sold many on the lie that they could look like him if they followed his system. But now his system looked like a massive joke, and he had no choice but to confess. Brian's apology seems genuine on the surface. However,
I was like, damn. I was like, what happened to the audio? He did it so he probably wouldn't get a strike or something.
He continues to lie about many of the circumstances that led him to this point.
Monetized.
He claims that he never intended to become an internet sensation, and as a result mishandled his online persona. This narrative relies on you not knowing that Brian openly admitted that he was trying to reach 1 million followers in leaked emails before he even started his social media journey. He then goes on to claim that the Liver King persona was a social experiment aimed to inspire others to adopt healthier lifestyles, even if Brian himself was not personally following the same rulebook.
Liver King, the public figure, was an experiment to spread the message, to bring awareness to the 4,000 people a day who kill themselves. The 80,000 people a day that try to kill themselves are people who are earning at record rates with depression, autoimmune, anxiety, infertility, low ambition in life. Our young men are hurting them both, feeling lost, weak, and submissive. So I made it my job to model, teach, and preach a simple, elegant solution called ancestral living. The 9 ancestral tenets. So our people no longer have to suffer, so we can collectively express our highest and most darkest.
He's trying so hard to build a bridge between depressive individuals and his steroid addiction, LMAO. Brian's reputation was completely shattered. Nobody believed Brian's sob stories or deeper motivations, and thus his reputation was completely shattered. He was now nothing more than a complete laughingstock of the internet. While he attempted to return to normalcy following his expose, Brian began to rot as the months went on, both physically and mentally. He notably lost a decent portion of muscle mass due to temporarily quitting the use of drugs to enhance his physique, but more fascinating was his extreme mental decline, in which he broadcasted for the entire world to see. People noticed his erratic behavior as he posted countless videos of himself nonsensically rambling.
Break, victory, champion. I like to win in life, or if you'd rather do one of those, you know? It was nice to meet you.
His content evolved into nothing more than an archive of directionless vlogs, filled almost entirely of dead air, only broken up with more incoherent ramblings. Brian had clearly lost his mind, although things would reach a boiling point when he was arrested for making death threats towards one of the largest podcasters on the planet. You see, Brian has an unnatural obsession with Joe Rogan, which was apparent long before he began showing any signs of mental decline. Joe even acknowledged that Brian had frequently made attempts to appear on his podcast, although was never offered an invitation.
One of them came up to me in Vegas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one of my security guards stopped him. He was like, I'm a producer for the Liver King. I'm like, what the do you produce? What are you producing?
Like, how many UFC events did he try and cozy up?
He was front row at one of my shows in Vegas. Yeah, and then I saw him again at the Canelo fight. He was trying really hard to get on the podcast. And he's been trying really hard to get on now. He contacted a few friends of mine, and some of them that have, like Bert Kreischer, that had him on the show.
Yeah, he told me he's trying to get on.
Yeah, for what? For what? Say that more? Like, come on, this is dumb, man. You ran a con game, and you got busted.
Joe Rogan's disapproval cut Brian deeply. However, those feelings would devolve into full-blown hatred as his mental health declined further. Brian truly hit rock bottom shortly after the release of a Netflix documentary series about his rise and fall. After a break from the internet, Brian returned looking more disheveled than ever before, with his face caked in dirt, twigs sticking out of his hair, and multiple wounds on his nose and eyebrow. In this video, he acknowledges 3 entities who he believes are trying to destroy his life. These 3 individuals are likely the documentary's creator, More Plates, More Dates, and Joe Rogan. Now he was on a personal vendetta to get revenge on those he believes have wronged him. Brian began openly threatening Joe Rogan, challenging him to a fight and graphically explaining how he would do it.
What I'm hoping is that you, Joe Rogan, are thinking, I'm gonna choke that motherfucker out, lights out, I'm gonna choke him out. And I kind of hope that if you win, that's how it happened. You won't feel me tap. That's never happening, tapping. Shame on you, I'm gonna make you pay. I am gonna actually make you pay. My name's Liver King, man to man. I'm picking a fight with you. I'll come to you whenever you're ready to go. Because Joe Rogan, we don't have to make videos to pretend anymore. All of this is happening. We're coming to you. I've challenged you man to man to a fight. You can hold the hand of somebody that you love, because what happens next to you, you're going to need to remember that feeling. You're going to need something more than what you did.
But Brian took it to a whole different level when he revealed that he was traveling to Austin, Texas to find Joe Rogan and literally kill him.
Just pulling up to the capital of Texas.
Yeah, that nigga Brian deadass turned to mashed potatoes.
You're dead. You're dead.
Brian began spamming videos to his Instagram feed all throughout the night, leading up to the next morning when the police arrested him at his hotel after receiving reports of his threats. He was taken to jail but released on a $20,000 bond. Part of his bond conditions were the implementation of a non-contact restraining order, meaning that he could not go near or even speak about Joe Rogan in any capacity. A moment like this should have served as a point of reflection for Brian, realizing that he had gone too far and finally getting the help that he so desperately needs. Unfortunately, that is not the case. As recently as November of 2025, Brian is still obsessing over Joe Rogan, continuing to challenge him to a fight and even taping large pictures of his face all over his walls. This behavior is not normal and continues to make him look extremely manic and or crazy. The cracks in Brian's facade began to show when someone with actual credibility decided to challenge him, just like Dr. Mike Israetel, whose credibility evaporated the moment someone actually read the document that earned him the title doctor, only to find it was full of fabricated claims. What helped Mike stand out from most other influencers in the space was his evidence-based fitness regimen, backed by his PhD in sport physiology. Rather than speaking from personal experience and bro science alone, Mike understood at an educated level what it took to achieve your dream physique, and many lifters took his word as gospel. And this sense of credibility seemed to inflate Mike's ego to an extremely high level, with him often bragging about his high IQ and essentially proclaiming to be the smartest fitness coach on the planet.
I've taken the Ravens Advanced Progressive Matrices test, and I pegged at scale high. So you get every single question right. And so my IQ is above 160. We don't know how high because they don't do standardized IQ tests above that. I'm both on a raw IQ scale smarter than almost every coach, maybe every coach. I know more about physiology, body responses, etc. than they do in most cases. And so if I don't trust you intellectually and I think I can do a better job doing doing what you do, then it becomes a real big problem for me to follow your advice.
With this arrogance, Mike found himself in public feuds with a handful of other prominent fitness influencers, frequently getting into debates and turning to personal insults when things don't go his way.
And also in every category of human behavior, I'm tougher than you. I can train closer to failure than you. I can do it for longer. I have more willpower than you. I'm just better than you, Lyle.
Because Mike views himself with such high regard, he very rarely filters himself, causing him to say things that make him sound completely unhinged.
I'll read a comment on social media directed at me, I guess about me. And it's from nameless, faceless. And I begin to fantasize about what it would be like and how much sublime pleasure I would receive in hurting that person at a deep physical and emotional level, hurting them in such a way that they're never going to walk right again and they're always going to remember me and how they dared to cross me.
As well respected as Dr. Mike was, he was equally divisive, and many felt compelled to take a closer look at his resume. This included Solomon Nelson, who took it upon himself to dissect Mike's PhD dissertation. This paper was the final requirement for Mike to receive his doctorate degree and reasonably could be considered the culmination of all of his efforts to achieve his PhD. However, Solomon was shocked to find out how poor the thesis was, going as far as claiming that it deserved a failing grade.
I'll argue that, according to standard assessment criteria, Mike's thesis would have failed, or at the very least been sent back for major revisions at any high-ranking university.
This dissertation was riddled with various issues, such as improper data that implied some of the subjects involved in his study were only 4 pounds, and others were as tall as 345 meters, and some weren't even born yet.
1/3 of the lowest performers was either taller than 3.459 meters, taller than any human ever recorded, or shorter than -6.1 centimeters. As to age, either they were older than 40.4 years of age, or younger than -1.4 years, meaning, once again, that they hadn't yet been born.
The paper was also filled with spelling errors, improper grammar, and general structural issues that made the paper more confusing. However, one of the largest issues with his dissertation was the paper's thesis statement, which sought to prove that athletes with more lean muscle mass perform better than those without it, but it fails to make significant contributions to the field it's related to, which Solomon cites as a crucial component to a passing dissertation.
Mike's thesis falls short of fulfilling one of the most fundamental requirements for doctorate.
But a nigga's basically a liar. His PhD is his whole credentials is flop, basically.
Doctoral research, a significant contribution of original knowledge. The stated goal of Mike's thesis was to explore interrelationships among fitness variables that he claimed were less clear in the existing literature. However, the core findings, stronger athletes are more muscular and powerful, that more powerful athletes jump higher and sprint faster, and that leaner athletes perform better in these tasks, are not only unsurprising, but also extensively documented in prior research.
Not only has this thesis been thoroughly proven through separate academic research, it seeks to prove something that most people could easily infer on their own. Like, yeah, obviously having more muscle mass makes you more athletic. The fact that Mike could so incoherently argue what many understood to be a foregone conclusion raised questions about his intelligence and authority on the subject of fitness. Now, of course, you don't need a PhD to be a respected figure in the fitness industry, but Mike's whole brand and identity was rooted in his PhD to validate his voice in the community. Not only did the lackluster nature of his dissertation discredit his resume, it also made people question how intelligent he was at all. This guy claimed to be so smart that he essentially broke the scales when testing his IQ, but Dr. Mike can't even spell the word science properly. Now, as mentioned before, you don't need a PhD to make fitness content, so all he would have had to do is concede that his dissertation was poorly written, cut his losses, and continue making videos with little repercussions. But rather than putting his ego aside, he went into full-blown damage control.
We now know Solomon was looking at an accidentally uploaded incorrect rough draft. So I'll say this, I don't
got a PhD, but he can't spell science.
He has every reasonable idea to think this was the final draft. It wasn't. We have the final draft now in the link here. And so most of his critiques are just non-starters because the final just doesn't have most of those problems.
The claim that Solomon was reviewing the wrong version of the document may seem like a solid
I was thinking the same shit. That nigga got a weird
justify
shit
things like grammatical and spelling issues, something that were still present in the newer version of the document. The dissertation still failed in terms of its thesis statement and its interpretation of the data, meaning that the entire paper would have to be completely rewritten to sufficiently remedy its mistakes. Then Mike tried to claim that the new version of the document was actually dated March of 2013, when the one Solomon had was August of 2013, meaning that Solomon did have the most recent and final version of the document. Mike could not hide from this any longer and had no choice but to finally admit that Solomon had indeed been critiquing the correct version of the dissertation. So yes, he is still a doctor, but maybe not the best one. Despite this being an embarrassing moment for him, and seeing a slight loss of subscribers on his YouTube channel, he still has a large fan base rooting for him and seeing his advice as valuable. But this begs the question, why didn't he just tell the truth from the beginning? This is likely due to his immense insecurity. Mike often touts his intellect and credentials in an effort to validate his position to others as well as himself. But now those credentials aren't respected anymore. Mike's insecurities likely played a huge factor in how he chose to respond. But other internet alpha males take their insecurities even further, like Clavicular, the teenage gym bro who literally does meth to maintain his appearance.
Now that's what I was like, okay, now what the hell? Meth? Okay. This is the guy I wanted to hear about.
Most internet alphas tend to focus on the importance of financial enrichment and physical prowess. But let's be honest, the reason why young men want to improve themselves a lot of the times is to get girls. 19-year-old Braden Peters, aka Clavicular, has leaned into this particular aspect of self-improvement, promoting what many refer to as looks maxing. Looks maxing aims to improve one's appearance to its ultimate potential. This can involve very harmless acts like getting a good haircut and having a skincare routine or dressing well. However, individuals like Clavicular take it to a much more extreme level. He promotes a plethora of different methods to improve your looks that are extremely dangerous, such as bone smashing.
I've been bone smashing for about 2 years, and I have gotten improvements. I used to have flat zygotes pretty much, but bone smash for about 2 years from this point, pretty much every day consistently, and now I'm got some tissue.
As insane as
bone smashing? What the fuck? Not this again.
Doing something like this is, it pales in comparison to the other advice he gives, like the usage of literal meth to keep his face slim.
I was essentially doing meth for hollow cheeks, guys. I just to come clean and let you know what I was doing.
And this is only one of the many very
No, so not to be skinny. Well, I guess yes, to be skinny, but to hollow out his cheekbones to get that sunken in face look. He was doing meth. This is dead ass tart activities, bro.
Various substances he uses to maximize his appearance, such as minoxidil for hair growth, Accutane for clear skin, and of course, testosterone injections for extra gains in the gym. Substances that will likely cause immense problems for him later in the future.
People are asking, are you going to be infertile? Do you worry about having children?
So right now, I am infertile.
But he does this for one simple.
Well, there it is.
Reason. Clavicular believes that your appearance is everything, and that the more attractive you are, the better your life will be. He takes this mentality so far that he views getting a $35,000 jaw surgery as an investment that will pay itself off.
I'm really just talking about a purely logical return on investment. I see myself, I'm like, well, what am I? My face, I am a social media influencer, right? So if I spend this amount of money on a double jaw surgery, right, it's gonna cost me about 30 grand to do the surgery. Will this pay itself off if all goes well? And I'm saying overwhelmingly yes.
Through his personal coaching program, he sells young, insecure men on the hope that they can one day surpass their genetic limits, which he refers to as ascending. This course includes things like a full facial analysis, a full-blown gym routine, and a list of different supplements to help improve your image. The only problem is this does not sound like an effective way to remedy someone's insecurity.
You say, you about to get that Zac Efron. Hey, he does need for Superman soon. I'm calling it now. Can he even act?
In fact, these things have only the potential to make them worse. Clavicular uses his own ascension as a testimonial that his system of looks maxing truly works, although many have taken note of the fact that most of his physical improvements are simply the byproduct of growing up. Before versus before. It really just looks like 2 years of puberty. Bro grew up. The reality is that Clavicular is completely delusional, but in an ironic sense, he is undoubtedly the most honest person in this entire video, as he is extremely aware of the negative ramifications of his usage.
He's gonna be like that MJ lookalike.
Just like a negative feedback loop when you're not needing to produce testosterone anymore because your body realizes, okay, we're getting it from an exogenous
So you're not producing
source.
any testosterone naturally?
No.
None?
No.
Oh, I'm not taking TRT, bro.
How do you think it works? You just don't. Your body realizes we're at a certain level, we don't need it anymore, so it stops producing it.
The reason why he is on this journey is because
looks maxing. You know what I'm saying? You take away everything else away just to look good. White boy probably just got coos and felt the Sleeks effect. Sleeks effect.
because he believes that he is genetically disadvantaged and has only made himself ascend to a slightly above average appearance.
These people, these Looks Max creators, we're all genetically gifted. They don't really understand, how it is to grow up not exactly good looking. People are placing me high tier normie as a little bit above average, between a 6 to a 6.5 on an actual decile scale that makes sense.
According to Clavicular himself, both of his parents are bodybuilders, and he began taking testosterone at only 14 years old to achieve a larger physique. So it's likely that from a young age he derived self-worth from physical appearance and has developed extremely severe body and facial dysmorphia as a result.
I was on a little bit of everything, to be honest, growing up. Test at 14.
How do you even get testosterone at 14?
I just ordered it on the internet.
He has even directly acknowledged that he is actively shortening his lifespan for the sake of looks.
It is very likely that some of my lifespan will be diminished with the things that I'm doing. I don't believe that's from some of the steroids, but maybe some of the recreational drugs in conjunction with the steroids. So that's a very real possibility.
As sad as this is, it does not absolve him from personal responsibility. His program currently has over 1.4 thousand active members, each paying $50 a month to take part. This coaching program has grown exponentially in recent weeks, most notably because of a viral clip of him injecting fat-dissolving peptides into his 17-year-old girlfriend's face on stream. Other clips show him casually picking up girls and even criticizing their facial flaws while meeting them.
Oh yeah, so you have like a recessed maxilla, so I can't.
What's that?
Like your upper jaw, it's just a little recessed, so I can't. I mean, you know what I mean?
Are you looking at me? I don't know what that means. I'm trying to can you explain to me what
I don't know. Yeah, it's just like a developmental flaw, it's no worries.
Clips like these only feed into the persona that Clavicular is trying to create, where he is an unstoppable and irresistible specimen who has achieved his power through looks maxing. And it's working, because his audience nor his customers see him as deeply insecure. And he continues to take advantage of his impressionable audience, much like Marquette Burton, who has created an entire red pill cult that is surprisingly working. On the surface, Marquette, aka the Saint and the Sinner, seems like just another run-of-the-mill internet alpha male. He sells courses, portrays himself as a business genius, and bashes women on podcasts.
Would you feel comfortable if your father was watching your OnlyFans and subscribing to it?
Probably not, no.
You would not feel comfortable, and I'll tell you why. That's because in your heart of hearts, in your soul, if you still got one, you know it's wrong. And I'll give you an example. That's your work. In my work, if my mother consumed my work, I'd be thankful and pleased that she took an interest in my work and supported my work. If she bought my products, I'd be thankful. If your mother or father bought your products, you'd be disgusted and ashamed because you know what you're doing is wrong and the product of what you're doing is bad.
I mean, he's not wrong though. What he was saying ain't really wrong though. I'm not gonna lie. I'm about to say I don't know who this nigga is, but what he said ain't wrong. What'd you say? What did I miss? My fault. I'm so fuck on. Them drugs killed a soldier temporarily. Yeah, oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that damn developmental flaw. Damn, I'm going through life all wrong. That's what he thinks. Apparently, he in for a rude awakening. Rude.
Of course, he also has the tendency to fabricate every aspect of his life, lying about being a multimillionaire thanks to his background in application development. Although when you take a look at his resume, it's clear that he is not nearly as wealthy as he claims to be. In 2012, he launched his first company, Hobby Buddy, a social media platform that connected local strangers to help plan in-person activities. Hobby Buddy's website remained dormant for over 6 years, promoting the eventual release of a mobile app that would never see the light of day. His next business venture was called The Fletch App, a mobile application that gave universities the power to track student attendance. Marquette hoped to sell licenses to colleges in need of the service, although this effort failed, and the application has been defunct for over 5 years. He later shifted his focus to Why Not, a mobile application that was essentially a Craigslist for Wi-Fi hotspots. Despite Why Not's failure, Marquette landed himself an article in Forbes for his work on the application, which in reality is just a puff piece paid for by Marquette himself. His last major endeavor was an app called MyKey, which was basically just a glorified geotag that never went anywhere. Now, I'm not coming at Marquette for failing. It is extremely difficult to start a successful business, and if anything, his persistence is admirable. But Marquette pretends that these failed businesses were actually huge successes, and claims they helped him become a self-made millionaire with a net worth of $100 million. But it's very obvious that he is nowhere near that kind of wealth. In 2020, Marquette was featured in an article discussing his involvement in the SEED program, which offered aspiring entrepreneurs a $50,000 investment to relocate to Erie, Pennsylvania. Despite claiming to be massively successful, Marquette was willing to move states just to keep his business afloat. Once again, I respect the hustle, but it's hard to imagine a multi-millionaire would move to Erie, Pennsylvania to do something like this. It's also hard to imagine that someone of this status would spend their time arguing with women on podcasts, selling self-improvement courses, and streaming multiple times a week to a small audience. Marquette goes to extreme lengths to portray himself as much more than just a glorified red pill live streamer, going as far as creating a fake BBC documentary about himself.
The Kenyans literally rolled out the red carpet for Mr. Burton's arrival. He is an enigmatic figure, a businessman and a boxer, an author, a stoic, and a poet.
He originally had this YouTube video titled as BBC coverage or BBC Emerging World Leaders Profile, and then they made him change the title because obviously it's not a BBC thing.
Just about every internet alpha male portrays themselves as high-status individuals, imparting their wisdom on their lowly followers. But Marquette has created a full-blown cult. The Assassin follows an ideology called Marquetteism, which is essentially a religion based around men being alphas and women being second-class citizens. Nearly every element of the Assassin follows classic cult structure. It starts with rituals and traditions, mandatory greetings, group chants, and repeated creeds, all of which exist to reinforce belonging and suppress individuality. The two ideals make the group identity your primary identity, explicitly replacing race, nationality, and even standard family structure with loyalty to the organization. This ideology also lays out different levels of existence: confirmed saints, good people, and the wicked, all of which ties into the cult's fundamental rule system, what Marquette calls the 3-sentence Bible.
Number 1, be yourself. Number 2, be good to yourself. Number 3, be good to good people.
From there, it establishes a strict hierarchy where one man sits at the top and everyone else, especially women, is assigned to a rigid, subservient role. The rules for women read less like relationship guidance and more like obedience training. Don't speak while thinking. Don't interrupt peace. Cook every 4 hours. Manage his food. Manage his house. Manage his schedule, but never question him. And most importantly, the system positions the outside world as the wicked, while members become saints, creating an us versus them mentality that isolates followers, making the group the only place where they feel understood, valued, or morally superior. And of course, there's a direct correlation with moving up in the ranks.
That nigga just basically want women to be slaves. Second-class citizens. Don't speak while thinking. Don't disrupt peace. I mean, yeah, don't disrupt peace is cool. But wow, that nigga want women to deadass be slaves. That's crazy. All these men be looking, never mind, gay as fuck.
And how much money you give to Marquette, whether it be through his business coaching courses or ticket sales for
Unlock for $888, $229, $839, $40. Nigga, that's nuts. Fuck that.
real life events. I also find it hilarious that a single woman is only required to pay $200 and a single man has to pay 3 times as much at $600, because it's hard to see why any single woman would enter a room full of people that believe in Marquetteism. Yet despite the insanely high price of these tickets, Marquette manages to convince a surprising amount of them. Yet despite the insanely...
It says one single woman, $193. One woman in a relationship, $264. Why? This woman this is a woman who is in a relationship with a saint. But the ticket for a man provides dinner and breakfast. Yeah, this nigga lost his fucking mind. So the bitches can't eat? The bitches don't get dinner or breakfast? That's fucking nuts, yo. You're going to buy a class on femininity from a man? Wow. I'm still bugging off the prices. Women in relationship is more. That's actually nuts, bro.
High price of these tickets, Marquette manages to convince a surprising amount of people that they are well worth it, and watching them all speak in a circle gives strong cult vibes.
For the good of the assassin.
For the good of assassin.
For the good of the assassin. For the good of the assassin.
For the good of the assassin.
For the good of the assassin.
For the good of the assassin. For the good of the assassin.
For the good of the assassin.
For the good of the assassin.
Typically, when internet alpha males sell courses online, they do it solely for the chance to make some easy cash. But Marquette seems to be attracted to something much more sinister: power and control. He is driven by his own self-obsession and desire to be worshipped, with the potential income only being part of his true motives. He's trying to sell people on a...
This nigga dressed like he in Rush Hour, like he wearing one of them Ricky Tan suits.
Worldview that ties back to himself and his excellence. A lot of what Marquette is doing seems to be taken out of the playbook of Andrew Tate. And a few years ago, I made this experimental video where I compared him to a cult leader. It's pretty different than what I normally would put out, but it is really interesting.
Hey, WVid though, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of this shit, I only knew about the liver nigga, and yeah, I think I only knew about the liver nigga. But yeah. This is crazy. All these niggas that are dead ass all preach hyper positivity, this, that, third, woo wap bam, but these niggas is weird, bro. These niggas are weird as fuck. But W video, Pat. Give me reaction. I never really,
for a nigga.
It's good, cuz I never really understood how, certain people gravitate towards, like, those type of, like, life coach, fitness guru type shit. I mean, it's different, when you got a personal trainer that you know in real life, but, like, those type of self lifestyle promoting niggas that's just, like, basically just social media influencers. I don't know, man. But, I'm older. I grew up in a different time. Guess I won't understand, but yeah. Shit's weird, man.